Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into chronic myeloid leukemia, or CML. We're going to really laser focus on the high-yield, super testable facts you absolutely need to know, from the single genetic mistake that starts it all to the revolutionary drug that completely changed the game.
Okay, let's jump right in. The entire story of CML really boils down to this one question. See, unlike a lot of other cancers that are caused by a whole cascade of genetic errors, CML is driven by one single identifiable mistake. And if you can understand that mistake, you're well on your way to understanding CML.
And here it is. This is our culprit, the Philadelphia chromosome. Now, this isn't an extra chromosome or a missing one. It's what happens when a piece of chromosome 9 and a piece of chromosome 22 literally break off and swap places. This specific translocation is the genetic fingerprint of CML, and it is a massive buzzword you have got to know.
So what's the big deal about that swap? Well, it creates this brand new troublemaking gene called BCR-ABL. And this gene produces a protein that's always on, constantly screaming at the bone marrow cells to divide, divide, divide. It's like a gas pedal that's just stuck to the floor. The cancer cells are literally addicted to this signal.
Okay, so we've got our genetic error, we've got our stuck gas pedal. Now let's follow the breadcrumbs and see how that single mistake leads to a massive, systemic flood of white blood cells.
All right, here's a term you need to lock in. CML is a myeloproliferative disorder. Let's break that down. Myelo refers to the myeloid cells in your bone marrow. Those are the precursors to a lot of your white blood cells. And proliferative? Well, that just means they are multiplying like crazy. The bone marrow factory is just running out of control.
And all of this cellular overload, it's not silent. The body is in this hypermetabolic state, which leads to those classic symptoms like fatigue, night sweats, and fevers. But the two absolute physical exam buzzwords you have to remember are splenomegaly, that's an enlarged spleen causing abdominal fullness, and sternal tenderness, which comes from that overworked bone marrow right in your breastbone.
So, we have our genetic cause, and we have our clinical signs. Now it's time to put on our detective hats and see how we find the definitive clues in a patient's blood work that really lock in the diagnosis.
So the first and most dramatic clue is a just sky-high white blood cell count. A normal count is somewhere between, say, 4,000 and 11,000. In CML, the median count at diagnosis is a staggering 150,000. Sometimes it's way higher. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This slide right here, this is pure high-yield gold for any exam. You've got that dramatically elevated white count for sure. But, and this is super important for the chronic phase, you have a low percentage of blasts, usually under 5%. You'll also see basophilia, an increase in basophils, and that classic left shift.
So what in the world is a left shift? Well, it means when you look at that blood smear, you don't just see the grown-up, mature cells. You see the entire family photo of myeloid development all at once. The baby blasts, the teenage promyelocytes, all the way to the adult neutrophils. The factory is just pushing out cells at every single stage of development. It's a huge, huge clue for CML.
And this is a classic test question. How do you tell the difference between CML and a really bad infection? I mean, both can raise your white count, right? But the key differences are the sheer numbers, CML is usually way higher, the presence of that splenomegaly, and of course, the definitive test. CML is going to be positive for that BCR-ABL gene.
All right, so we've identified the problem, we've found the evidence. Now we get to the most remarkable part of the CML story, the absolutely brilliant, targeted solution that completely changed everything.
Here's the crucial point. Once scientists figured out it was this rogue BCR-ABL protein with its constant tyrosine kinase activity, they could design a drug to specifically shut it down. This led to a whole new, revolutionary class of drugs called tyrosine kinase inhibitors, or TKIs.
This right here is the absolute definition of targeted therapy. Instead of old-school chemo that just kills all rapidly dividing cells, good and bad, drugs like imatinib are molecularly designed to fit perfectly into that BCR-ABL protein and just shut it off. It's like finding the exact, specific key to turn off that stuck gas pedal. It stops the cancer cells right in their tracks.
You know, success in treatment isn't just about the patient feeling better. It is measured with incredible precision. The first goal is what we call hematologic remission, getting those blood counts back to normal. But then we chase the disease at the molecular level, driving down the amount of that BCR-ABL gene transcript until it's barely even detectable. So, what's been the ultimate impact of this incredible targeted approach? How did it actually change the lives of patients with CML? Well, the answer is nothing short of a miracle.
The results, they are just breathtaking. For patients who get to and stay in these deep molecular responses, the prognosis is excellent. We're talking about overall survival rates that approach 100%. This is a monumental achievement in medicine, and it's just a true testament to the power of targeted therapy.
And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. Before TKIs, a CML diagnosis was essentially a death sentence. Now, for most patients, it's a manageable chronic condition, often controlled by just taking a pill every day. It is a true triumph of molecular medicine.
Really, the success in CML has become the blueprint for modern cancer research. Find the specific genetic driver and design a drug to shut it down. It leaves us with a really hopeful and very pressing question. What other cancers can we conquer with this same powerful approach?